Hi everybody, it's Grace. Welcome to Eating Peace this week. I'm in my office instead of the kitchen because there's a lot of family activity of people packing up to go away and teach. I'm teaching a retreat at Brighton Bush Hot Springs in Oregon. I can't wait to do it. It's going to be so beautiful. And I wanted to make this quick video for you before I left because I will be off the internet and completely immersed in live, interaction with over 20 people at Brighton Bush. But so here's something to really consider. I really wanted to share this with you this week. When you feel like you want to eat and reach for food or do something compulsive, that sense of compulsion, I know it feels very painful, and often, I've talked about it before, the initial response or something that starts chattering in the mind is, what's wrong with you? Can't you stop? You know you don't want to do this. I've told you before. Go ahead and eat it. There'll be this sort of battle between two parts of you, and you miss something very, very important. Why do I feel like doing this right now? Why? Not what am I going to eat? How am I going to get it? What's this going to look like 5 minutes from now or an hour later or this tonight, later this evening, I'm going to eat all of that I want. Why? Because often the idea comes into the mind before you ever even start eating. And I know sometimes you find yourself just sort of graze eating and filling, and then you realize, oh my gosh, I didn't stop. And that's got this sort of different, a little bit of a different energy, but you can also ask, why didn't I? Now, the thing to do with that, with your answer, is not to start to get harsh, not to move into that self-critical place, because that's very foggy. That keeps you from knowing why. Although it is very tricky to find out why. Here's something to wonder today. What am I really vulnerable to? What do I tend to bump up against over and over again in life that I really don't like, that I find quite frightening? Maybe it's something that goes way back. I just don't like it and I want to avoid it. I'm kind of running my life like I really want to avoid that thing. I'll give you an example. One of my personal vulnerabilities is that if I make a mistake, I could be totally rejected. Like I will do something wrong. I'll put my foot in my mouth. I'll wind up doing some kind of activity or behavior. It will be a mistake because somebody else will be very offended and they'll reject me. They'll never want to speak to me again. They'll actually hurt me. They'll call me names, they'll gossip about me over there, they'll kind of move away from me. And in some ways it goes all the way back to family dynamics. A sense of feeling that if I did something wrong, like if I was too selfish or too bossy or like pushed out my sisters and wanted something just for myself, I would get rejected. Basically, go to your room. I don't ever want to see you again doing that. Very typical for parents, but I took it so hard. It was so sensitive, And then I would just bend over backwards, do everything I could to make sure people stayed in, good association with me, that they felt comfortable, that they felt calm, that they didn't feel an impulse to run away. I wanted them to be happy in my presence. I wanted other people to be happy in my presence so that I could be happy. So if there was even a smell or a whiff of a sense of rejection, like if somebody said, Grace, I know we've been good friends for a while and I don't like the way you, oh my God, it felt like I just got stabbed with a knife in the stomach. And guess what I would feel like doing later when I wasn't in their presence? I would almost freeze like a rabbit, eyes wide open. Or like a deer caught in the headlights, as they say. Later, I would want to go eat. I would begin to think about going and getting my food and eating everything in the world that I possibly could get my hands on without them seeing me. It was like this sneak escape into, oh yeah, I'm going to do whatever I want. I'm going to do whatever I want. Just so much fear and worry about if I really did operated the way I want, that I would run into somebody and I would wind up hurting their feelings. So a lot of sense of being careful, and not saying things with very much assurance or firmness, because I was worried that if I didn't like that kind of feeling inside about being criticized or somebody, confronting me and that they would reject me, well, then I sure didn't want to do it with them. There are some benefits to the way that's been because I naturally, when I need to bring up something that's really important to me to somebody, I do it in a really gentle way, but it's just sort of molded deeply into me. And I don't want that to be like a compulsive kindness towards people that's not truly real. I want to be able to show my total self, right? When I do, I find there is no need to ever eat. So just wonder about that. What's your own vulnerability? The things that come up often are fear of abandonment. Mine's outright rejection, somebody actually criticizing and then rejecting me. Um, Abandonment is a big one, being banished to some place far, far away. And just other fears, emotional fears that you feel very, very helpless with. Like you just can't, there's no way out of it. And you just want to try everything you can to make sure that never happens again to you. Something that has really terrified you. Sometimes it's quite, there's an experience of abuse or hurt, and you want to shut it out. The only problem is working to shut it out is a lot of work. It's a lot of work. And just going ahead and facing the thing, even if it's very, very old, if it sort of sprang forth long ago in your childhood, looking at it, seeing there's a situation that I can sit with, now I can look at it. Now I can write a Judge Your Neighbor worksheet on it if I'm doing the work of Byron Katie. I can get really detailed and write out all my thoughts. And I can work with somebody, take it myself through the inquiry process, the 4 questions and finding turnarounds, and just let that get settled. Let myself find some peace around that situation and that issue so I'm not so afraid of it in my daily life. And wow, miraculously, the need for a compulsive behavior, the need to eat something, doesn't occur to you. Really, that actually happens. I couldn't believe it happened with me myself. But as I became more comfortable with being rejected, I no longer needed to eat. And you can have that freedom too. Okay, take care, everybody. Bye. Let me know how it goes.